Well, good evening, everyone. And not welcome on such a, it's not hard to not be outside today, that's for sure. Still not that nice out. So you have before you a copy of the agenda. Oh, I guess I better call the meeting to order first. So I'll do that. And you have before you a copy of tonight's agenda. Looking for a motion to adopt the agenda. Councillor Groenewegen and seconded by Councillor Chambers. Any questions? All in favor? Thank you. Item number 3 on our agenda is declarations of interest. Do I have any? None being noted. Moving on to item number 4, announcements, awards, ceremonies, and presentations. Anything from administration, SAO Goucher?
No, nothing from administration.
Anything from council? Go ahead, Deputy Mayor Bouchard.
Yeah, I don't know if we mentioned it. I know the JNWT mentioned that one of our local businesses, Poison Paintings, building masks for the COVID problem. So I just wanted to congratulate them to being approved to build some of that stuff. So good on them.
Very innovative, absolutely. Anything else from council? Quiet week in Hay River. Okay, moving on to item number 5. 5A, regular meeting of council minutes dated May 26, 2020. Looking for a motion? Deputy Mayor Bouchard, go ahead.
Yeah, I'll move to accept regular meeting of council for May 26, 2020.
Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Chambers. Any questions to the minutes? None being noted. All in favor? Thank you. 5B, special meeting of council minutes dated June 2nd, 2020. Looking for a motion? Councillor Duford.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll move that council accept the minutes of the special meeting of council dated June the 2nd, 2020.
Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Chambers. Any questions to the motion? All in favor? Thank you. Motion carries. Item number 6, business arising. I believe it was Councillor Dowie that asked some questions in regard to purchasing property at a tax auction. So that is just for information purposes, unless anybody has questions for administration regarding same. Go ahead, Councillor Dowie.
Thanks, Your Worship. I appreciate the information that administration dug up on that. I'm just wondering if maybe we could just give kind of a quick rundown, just for the record, for the meeting itself, just for those that are maybe watching or watch later, I guess, on YouTube. You know, we have that option there now as well.
Okay, SAO Goucher.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll ask the Director of Finance to go through the information for council.
Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you, Your Worship. So I won't go through the entire report here. I'll just kind of touch on the highlights. We had been requested by Councillor Dowie, and it's a question that's come up in the past as well, just in regards to what happens when properties are in arrears. And so every year we employ a lawyer to basically take properties that are delinquent, so more than 2 years in arrears, and members of the public have the option to bid on those properties. There's a few rules surrounding it. So basically, the day of the sale, 25% of the purchase price needs to be put down by the bidder. The owner of the property then has 30 days to basically pay off the full balance to the town to redeem that property. There's also a minimum sale value, and this is one of the points of confusion. The minimum sale value is set by territorial legislation, so the Property Assessment Taxation Act. Within that, there's a regulation that sets that the minimum purchase price must be 50% of the assessed value of the property. So where this can create issues would be, as an example, if you've got a property that's been abandoned and the building on it is derelict, but it might still have a higher assessed value than what the market value is on the property. So, I spoke with our lawyer in terms of what options the town has, and the town does have the option, and this paper outlines how this would work to effectively repurchase land itself. It's not always, in some instances you might be paying more, the town may be paying more than what is owed in back taxes to recover that parcel. But it would allow for that land to potentially be used or resold at a later date. But I think that covers off most of what we discussed. Do you have any further questions at this point?
Go ahead, Councillor Dewey.
Thanks, Your Worship. No questions. I do appreciate the information. And I just think with that, on our, we're always having issues with, development in lands and whatnot, trying to get, looking for properties and things like that, where we could potentially have people build. I think it might be something worthwhile for the town to look into it at some point, potentially with some of those, those properties that have, there's some that have basically been abandoned and, they're just sitting there. It might be an option at some point for the town to look at, taking those over and cleaning them up a little bit and getting them sold. If we could do it without costing a whole bunch and recover some of the those costs through the sale of the property, I think it would be worthwhile looking at. It might free up some more land for our inventory.
Thank you. Any other questions from council? Okay, none noted. Moving on to item number 7, administrative inquiries. SAO Goucher.
Thank you, Your Worship. We'll go back to the Director of Finance for his report.
Thank you, Your Worship. I met with the Finance Committee on Friday, and we discussed the preliminary 2019 audited financials, along with our Q1 O&M and capital. So we intend to meet with them once more, once these statements are finalized, at which point we'll be looking to bring all of those items forward to council. We've also received this week our 2020 CPI funding from the territorial government. Lastly, and just a note, in our second full month of receiving credit card payments, we observed a roughly 50% increase in the amount of funds received. So we took in around $12,000 as credit card payments for the month of May. That's all for me. Thank you.
Thank you. SAO Goucher.
Thank you, Your Worship. Are we holding questions to the end?
Oh, I guess we could go with questions now. Any questions from our finance director? SAO Goucher.
Okay, thank you. We'll go to the Director of Protective Services for his report.
Thank you, Your Worship. Not too much other than what my report's saying for last month. Although we have been extremely busy over the last 9 days so far. We've done 21 ambulance calls, attended to 2 fires, and had four false alarms so far this month. So we're averaging 3 calls a day. So the guys are stepping up and making sure that everything's covered in town. We did go back to training on Thursday night, thank goodness, and it's looking like we'll continue on with that unless something drastic happens with COVID. So the guys are glad to be back here and training and getting involved with the fire service again. That's about all I have right now.
Thank you. Any questions for the Director of Protective Services? None being noted. SAO Goucher.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll move on to the Director of Recreation for his report.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Not much to update regarding current operations and services for the Department of Recreation, but I can update on some upcoming programming that we intend to bring back. Our summer heat playground attendant proposal was accepted by the local environmental health officer. It was also submitted to the CPHO and the chief environmental health officer, and it came back with no major changes, just 3 tips that they gave us, or best practices that they encouraged. Our programming supervisor is now working to implement that plan, and my thoughts are that public communication should go out early next week regarding that program, and dates as to when it would begin and registration information. We have also been in communication with representatives of ITI regarding possible partnership with for beach attendant program. We are getting very close to a formal agreement, which would see some of our aquatic staff working as beach attendants at the public beach. And again, the formal partnership with ITI would confirm all the details there. We are also reaching out to the National Life Saving Society as a consultant for all the training, job descriptions, and all those details to make sure that have everything in line and that we're covered on a liability stance. I've also started receiving communications from user groups with return to play plans. There's a bit of education to do with those user groups to remind them that sport organizations, local sport organizations, are to submit their plans to territorial sport organizations and get their return to play plans approved, confirm that they'll have liability insurance, and then they can come back to us and schedule and see if facilities are available. So I've heard back from Hay River Men's Fast Pitch, also preliminary discussions with Hay River Elks Soccer, and some communications with Hockey NWT, though the local hockey groups haven't communicated yet. That's pretty early, but there is a bit of given that return of hockey would have a big impact on our community center and the ability to put the ice in. It's good that communications are starting early with regards to that. We did get some support from the fire department this week to clean the asphalt at the skate park. There was some gravel and glass out there. Is a little dangerous for the kids. So we appreciate the help from the fire department. They also helped clean the parking lot at the community center, and that was much appreciated for their support there. We also submitted 2 funding applications to MACA this week. $16,000 application to the Children and Youth Resiliency Program, which would support mostly youth and family programming, and a $20,000 application to Rec and Sport contribution funding, again through MACA. Those are funding programs that we generally get, and it seems favorable again from the communications we've received from MACA. Also worked on an application for some work required at Port Landing. There was further structural damage to the south retaining wall at Port Landing. We've put up barriers to ensure that no vehicles go there. We've done an investigation, but that's work that'll have to happen sooner rather than later. And we have funding applications out for that work, as well as other work that we've identified at Port. Lastly, we had a rec committee meeting at lunch today, and that meeting went well. It was mostly to provide update and to present some of the initiatives we have going forward. And I'll provide minutes from that meeting at a later date. I think those are all the updates I have for now. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for the Director of Recreation, Deputy Mayor Bouchard?
Yeah, Worship, I was just wondering about a couple holidays coming up, Aboriginal Day and July 1st. Are we having any functions? Typically, there's some stuff that happens on those days. Is there anything that COVID's not letting happen, I guess?
Back to the Director of Recreation.
Thank you. Yes, our programming supervisor, now that our summer heat program or proposal has been approved, the next step is to submit proposals for the other programming as needed. The Canada Day celebration is a little more complicated because parades are identified as a phase 3 activity, especially when they're municipal. But I think we know that there's been car parades ongoing. So our programming supervisor will be communicating with environmental health from the GNWT to see what can be done. And we'll be submitting some proposals. Those communications on the rest of the programming should follow shortly after the summer heat communications.
Thank you. Any further questions from council? None being noted. SAO Goucher.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll go to the Director of Public Works for his report.
Thank you, Your Worship. First item, our boil water advisory is still in place. We are getting close to the levels we need to be at. I heard today that we are as close as we've been yet. Hoping in the next day or two we'll get to the levels we need to. After we do reach those levels, it will take another approximately 36 hours just to flush out the water that is in the system, so that that's gone before we lift before we request that the advisory gets lifted. So hoping that it can get finished by this weekend, but again, it's dependent on factors outside of our control. So just keep our fingers crossed on that. Our public works guys, the rain in recent days is causing some potholes on our roads. So working on getting the roads graded, getting some more gravel down, and then hopefully if the weather cooperates, getting calcium on the gravel roads. Also planning for the curbside cleanup next week. So getting things organized for that. Everything looks good to go for that. So shouldn't be any issues there. Capital projects side of things, Caribou Crescent, we should start seeing some action there in the next approximately 10 days. That project should be starting up. Our new lift station project, we're looking to get a startup meeting with the contractor and our consultant in the next week or so on that one, just to get started on it and get the groundwork laid for that. I've reached out for an update on Fraser Place geotechnical timelines. I haven't heard back from our consultant on that. I know they were trying to organize with the driller that they had arranged to do the project, but I haven't heard back yet, but I will reach out again and hopefully get an update on that. I did talk to our water intake line inspection contractor that we had arranged for that, and everything is still a go for that project for August. So even with the restrictions that are currently in place, everything is still on track for that to happen this fall like was intended. Other than that, been our water license, the testing guys, they got pushed back a week, so they're not here this week, but they should be here next week to do the testing on our all the facilities that are covered under our water license. And also been working through some rec center deficiency issues, getting things scheduled to take care of some of the items still on the list there. That's all of my updates for this week.
Thank you. Questions from council for our Director of Public Works? Got off lucky today, Mike. Okay, so SAO Goucher.
Thank you, Your Worship. We'll go on to the Assistant SAO for his report.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll start off with an announcement that we were successful in our application to the Northern Food Development Program, which is administered through ITI. So we submitted an application and received $20,000 there. That will go towards supporting our food safe flooring system at the pavilion. And with that announcement, we've immediately issued RFQs for a concrete for within the main structure of the building, and we're also installing the vinyl flooring system in the detached buildings. Other work continues on the pavilion, supported by our recreation staff, some carpentry and staining work, waiting for some better weather, but those activities are prepping and starting to happen now. We've also reached out with respect to the operations of the Fisherman's Wharf Market this season. We have indicated previously that we are targeting for an operation in July. That's still the case, probably around mid-July at this point. But we are working with the West Channel Heritage Society and the operator that had a contract with us for the last 2 years now, and extensive experience before that. So their interest is strong, and will be willing to take on that service again this year under similar terms. However, we will be working on COVID safe procedures and those that are applicable towards the phase 2 of the Emerging Wisely plan. And that administration is being conducted through our Tourism and Economic Development Coordinator. So he'll be working with them on their safe practices for opening. Thought I'd just make note that today the GNWT announced that the parks will be opening this Friday. And obviously a key recreational activity for people and residents in the north. But also a key element of what we feel is our promotion for a staycation and attracting people and inviting people to travel from the Northwest Territories to Hay River. And we are still working on that promotional activity, and meeting scheduled tomorrow with Outcrop on that. So continue to move through that and start to see things executed through it. One other, just to Deputy Mayor Bouchard's question on Indigenous Day or Aboriginal Day activities planned. I just wanted to point out that the Hay River Métis government, I did see there's an announcement there that they are offering a socially, physically distanced barbecue and delivery service through that. So there will be some activities occurring in the town. And on our human resources side, just a reminder, notice that we do have multiple public works jobs and our protective services jobs advertised, and certainly appreciate any conversations with people that may be interested and would be a good fit for them and the town, encouraging them to apply. But also administration, a good part of our administration, our directors, including myself, are working through a job evaluation training and job evaluation adoption of a Corn Ferry evaluation system, which was previously known as the Hay Group's evaluation system, which is used by the GNWT and is probably the largest in the world for job evaluations. But we've looked at, or we're implementing that framework and have committed to the union towards getting that completed for all of our positions prior to entering into collective bargaining, which will be undertaken, I think, starting in August, end of August. And I think that's all I have for you today.
Thank you. Any questions for Assistant SAO Smith? Councillor Dufert, go ahead.
Thank you, Your Worship. Not a question, but just a comment that it just jogged my memory. I read on social media today that Hay River has made a list of the 20 most nicest towns and cities to visit in Canada. And we were up on number 2 on the list. And a lot of this is due to the work that Peter McGill has done for us in the Visitor Information Center. So that was quite an amazing accomplishment for us, and hoping that, you know, that helps us out in the future with our tourism.
Thanks. Thank you. Any other questions? None being noted. SAO Goucher.
Well, thank you, Your Worship. Just 2 reports from me. One is to let the community know that the town of Hay River has suspended its COVID EMO meetings. At the present time, there's not a lot of emerging COVID information, and we haven't seen any changes in terms of cases within the Northwest Territories. So we were meeting twice a week. We backed that off to once a week, and now we will suspend those meetings pending any substantial events that might happen that are COVID related, or any other information that's forthcoming. At the call of the chair, we will reconvene. Also letting the public know that Friday is the Board of Revision meeting. So we will be holding that as a Zoom meeting. The assessors from MACA will be reviewing any of the claims that have been submitted. The deadline for submitting is long overdue, so no new claims can be introduced at the meeting. But we will be meeting on Friday for however long it takes to get through that list with our Board of Revision, and that will be a Zoom meeting. And that concludes our report.
Thank you. Any further questions from council? Deputy Mayor Boucher, go ahead.
Yeah, it just had to do with our COVID stuff, and I know we've asked for Protect NWT to make a presentation to council, and I know it's still a hot topic. I want to say the GNWT is not very forthcoming on direction on how they're dealing with some of these people they're allowing into the territory, and it's all over social media. It's basically, we're still not getting consistent answer of how people are being monitored once they come in to self-isolate, and who's watching them if they are self-isolating. It's still a big concern for, I think, a lot of people in the community. So it would be nice to hear more from Protect NWT and the GNWT on how this is being handled and monitored, because I mean, it just seems like it's free for all, and some people are very frustrated when we're all sitting here being very good citizens and following the rules, and then our government is basically allowing things to happen that shouldn't be, and that I don't think is protecting us in the territory here. So.
Yeah, I hear you. I had some concerns this afternoon as well when I saw the interview with Premier Cochrane. And to me, there's 2 messages being sent out, one by the Chief Public Health Officer and another one by the Premier. So I will be requesting clarification on that. So I'm pretty sure that's what you're referring to, Deputy Mayor. I too am frustrated. We have asked the Deputy Chief Public Health Officer to appear in council. He did appear at our EMO meeting, and the information when we asked was definitely different than what was out in the public today. So I will be asking for clarification. All that information will come to you as soon as I know what's going on, but there is definitely mixed messaging to the public. And that is very unfortunate right now when we need to remain diligent. We all know that. So far, so good. But if we don't keep control of those borders, I think that we're going to have some issues. So I will commit to having that conversation tomorrow, either with the deputy or the chief public health officer, and try and get clarification. Councillor Dowie, you had a question?
Thanks, Your Worship. It was kind of along those lines as the deputy mayor's, and your commitment of getting some clarity on those issues is kind of what I was after there. There's definitely some confusion out there after the Premier's interview yesterday, and then statements made by her own minister today in the House, or in the Ledge, sorry. So I don't think anybody really has much of an idea what's going on, at least in the public, and by the sounds of it, a lot of the MLAs were unaware of what was going on as well. So it'd be good you know, at a community level for us to maybe be at least in the same book, if not on the same page, because it seems to be the case that we're among the last to find out with everybody else, and that's not really a good position to be in as a government.
Yeah, fair enough. And I know that the last meeting I had with the NWT Association of Communities, so all my colleagues, mayors and chiefs combined, nobody was receptive to opening that border. So I'm not sure where this is coming from. But it will be, like I said, I will commit to getting clarification as soon as possible on this issue. Any further questions? Okay, none being noted, we'll move on to item number 8A. Public Works Monthly Report for May. Councillor Chambers.
Thank you, Your Worship. Moved by myself and seconded by Deputy Mayor Bouchard, the Council of Town of Hay River accepts the Public Works Report for the months of March through May 2020.
Thank you. Any questions from council? All in favor? Thank you. Motion carries. Item 8B, Tourism and Economic Development Report for April. Deputy Mayor Bouchard.
Sorry, turn it over here. Thank you, Worship. Moved by myself, second by Councillor Dufort. The Council of Town of Hay River accepts the Tourism and Economic Development Report for the month of April 2020.
Thank you. Any questions? All in favor? Thank you. Motion carries. Item 8C, Tourism and Economic Development Report for May. Councillor Chambers.
Thank you, Your Worship. Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Willows that the Council of the Town of Hay River accepts the Tourism and Economic Development Report for the month of May 2020.
Thank you. Any questions from council? All in favor? Thank you. Motion carries. Item 8D, Mayor's Monthly Report for May. Councillor Dufort.
Thank you, Your Worship. Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Dowie that the Council of the Town of Hay River accepts the Mayor's Report for May 2020 as presented.
Thank you. Any questions? All in favor? Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, moving on to item 9, which is new business. 9A, letter of support for Catlo Tech. Looking for a motion. Councillor Groenewegen, go ahead. Jeff, we can't hear you. You're on mute. Okay. Still can't hear you. We still can't hear you. Now you're on mute again. Oh. We can't hear you, Jeff.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can. Go ahead.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm going to move the recommendation that the Council of the Town of Hay River directs administration to draft a letter of supporting Catlo Tech Communications for the next generation fiber optic network.
Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Dufort. Any questions? Comments? All in favor? Thank you. Motion carries. Item 9B, CPI contribution agreement. Looking for a motion. Councillor Dowie, go ahead.
Thank you, Worship. I'll move the recommendation that the Council of Town of Hay River approves the Community Public Infrastructure CPI agreement for 2020-2021 in the amount of $1,510,000.
Thank you. Seconded by Counselor Willows. Any questions to the motion? All in favor? Motion carries. Thank you. Item 9C, IT service contract extension. Looking for a motion. Counselor Dowie, go ahead.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll move the recommendation that the Council of Town of Hay River approves the proposed IT framework and the subsequent renewal of the current IT services contract with Architect Computers under revised terms necessary to implement and support the updated framework.
Thank you. Seconded by Counselor Dufert. Any questions to the motion? Deputy Mayor Bouchard, go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. I'm just trying to, can I get some more detail on, so we're just looking at extending this contract so we can get into, I think I read something about getting all our systems into the cloud and the fact that we've renegotiated a quite a bit lower price and stuff. Can we get some more detail on that?
Absolutely. Assistant SAO Glenn Smith, Mr. Smith.
Thank you, Worship. Yes, Deputy Mayor Bouchard, that's essentially what is happening, but I can explain it in a little more detail. So we did do a rationalization of our IT services and consideration of a past report that was conducted by Council Administration 2012, but our own internal assessment this year as well. So it essentially a change in framework from both infrastructure standpoint, taking advantage of what's commonly referred to as the cloud and putting infrastructure in there, reducing the costs associated with it, but also the benefit of a new support framework that again uses the cloud or leverages that environment, but also some changes in service levels that give us increased control around off-hour support, which is currently built into the fixed arrangement. And yeah, some changes in the licensing, productivity licensing and support and maintenance services that would be offered. We would still have the architect provider would still have the one help desk support position in town, but the framework would change, and that would be identified in the renewal of the contract, the short-term 24-month contract. And yeah, with identified savings of approximately 40% over our current IT costs between O&M and capital.
Any other questions from council? Okay, all in favor? It's unanimous. Thank you. Item 9D, Emergency Services Report for May. Did I get a seconder on that? I did, didn't I? Stacy? I did? Okay, sorry guys.
You had Councillor Dufert.
Thank you. Okay, so item 9D, Emergency Services Report for May. Need a motion. Councillor Chambers, go ahead.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll move the recommendation that the Council of the Town of Hay River accepts the Emergency Services Activity Report for May 2020 as presented.
Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Willows. Any questions? All in favor? Thank you. Motion carries. Item 9F, Council Procedures Information. Oh, sorry, Municipal Services Report for May. Looking for a motion. Councillor Dufert, go ahead.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll move the recommendation that the Council of the Town of Hay River accepts the Municipal Enforcement Report for May 2020 as presented.
Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Grunaway again. Any questions to the motion? All in favor? Thank you. Item 9F, Council Procedures Information Report. I'm not sure who Counselor Dowie? Yeah, you're the chair for the policy committee, so I'll let you comment. Go ahead.
Thank you, Worship. I'll move the recommendation that the Council of Town of Hay River accepts the council procedures bylaw report as information.
Seconded by Counselor Willows. Any questions or comments? None being noted, all in favor? Thank you, motion carries. Item 9G, so there we go. There was a bit of a kerfuffle on our new lift station, whether it's 8 or 4, so this just straightens everything out. I'm looking for a motion. Is the motion up there?
No,
If
Oh,
we could get the
okay.
council administrator to put that document up on the screen, we could provide
Yeah.
you with a motion.
Thank you.
I can, yeah, I sent it to Mayor Jameson earlier today. Give me a second.
Council should have got it as well. I checked to see if everybody got it.
no,
Yeah, so all I need is a motion approving changing all references to lift station 8 in town documentation to read lift station 4. Somebody want to do that? Counselor,
So moved.
Counselor Dowie, go ahead. Go ahead, Keith.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll move the recommendation that the Council of Town of Hay River approve changing all references to lift station number 8 in town documentation to read lift station number 4.
Thank you. Seconded by Counselor Dufert.
the other way
Any
around.
questions? Sorry. Any questions to the motion? None being noted. All in favor? Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, so item number 10 is bylaws. So I'm looking for third reading on bylaw 2386, Port Landing bylaw. Counselor Dowie, go ahead.
Thank you, Worship. I'll move third and final reading on bylaw number 2386.
Seconded by Counselor Chambers. Any questions? None being noted, all in favor? Motion carries. Thank you. Item 10B, bylaw 2420, which is the council procedures bylaw, and we're looking for first and second reading tonight. So if I can get a motion, Counselor Dowie, go ahead.
Thank you, Worship. I'll move first reading of bylaw number 2420.
Seconded by Counselor or Deputy Mayor Bouchard. Any questions to the motion? All in favor? Thank you. Motion carries. Second reading, Keith, or Counselor Dowie, sorry.
Your Worship, I'll move second reading of bylaw number 2420.
And seconded by Counselor Chambers. Any questions? All in favor? Thank you. Motion carries. Okay, item number 11, there's no notices of motion, so we'll move on to item number 12, which is in camera, should be a quick one. I need a motion to go in camera. Counselor Grunewagen and seconded by Counselor Chambers, all in favor? Thank you so much, guys, and to everyone out there, please remain diligent when all around us are losing our heads. Let's try and keep that momentum going and practice social distancing, wash our hands, and have a great evening all. So we will convene back here. I don't have a time.